بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الكريم. So today we'll be doing the final part of regarding the janazah, and this begins by discussing regarding the burial and the grave, the situation of the grave. So um, he says وَيُحْفَرُ الْقَبْرُ وَيُلْحَدْ. He says that the grave will be dug up, and according to us, the best method of building the grave or digging out the grave is in the laht position, right? Laht is basically you build or you dig out the dirt and the grave, and then you make an entrance, or you make a more of like another entryway towards the qibla direction, and then you put the mayyit inside that space. Does that make sense? So basically, you'll have um, it'll come down like this, then towards qibla. Okay, so it'll be like an L shape kind of, right? It'll be going down and then towards the qibla direction. That's the laht, uh, which according to us is the better method of building the graves, or digging out the graves. According to Imam Shafi and others, they say that rather shiq is the better method, and the shiq method is basically like this and then like this. Okay, so again, you dig out the grave, then you make a smaller incision, and that's where the mayyit will be. So Imam Shafi and others, they say that that's the better method. We say that the laht is the better option. And so it's mentioned regarding, now the question is, how was Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam buried, right? That's the main thing. I mean, how he was buried, that's how seems to be the best opinion, right? So it's mentioned that روي أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لما توفي اختلف الناس أن يشق أو يلحد, right? So it's mentioned that when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, the people, the Sahaba, they differed whether it should be a shiq or a lah. So then وكان أبو طلحة الأنصاري لحادا وأبو عبيدة بن الجراح شقاقا. So two famous Sahaba, Abu Talha al-Ansari and Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah. So Abu Talha, he was a lahad, meaning he used to make the laht. And Abu Ubaidah was a shaqqaq, meaning he was a person who used to make the shaq. And so فَبَعَثُوا رَجُلًا إِلَى أَبِي طَلْحَةَ وَرَجُلًا إِلَى أَبِي عُبَيْدَ بن الجراح. So they sent one person to each, right? They sent one person to each. And فقال عباس بن عبد المطلب اللهم اختر لنبيك أحب الأمرين إليك. So the Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, who is the uncle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had owned two uncles who accepted Islam, right? Abbas and Ali, Abbas and Hamza radiallahu anhu. Right? So Abbas radiallahu anhu, he made dua. He said, Allah, oh Allah, choose for your Nabi the most beloved of the two options. So the person who was sent to Abu Talha, he found Abu Talha. And the one who was sent to Abu Ubaidah, he did not find Abu Ubaidah radiallahu anhu. Right? So essentially meaning, then Abu Talha radiallahu anhu came, and he did the laht, essentially, which is down and then towards the qibla. Okay. And it's mentioned that Abbas radiallahu anhu was mustajabu da'wah. Meaning he was a person, if he made dua, his du'as were accepted. So when he made this dua, Allah Ta'ala accepted his dua. Right? And it's also mentioned that the people, the tawaruth, the actions of the people of Medina, it was actually also to do, actually shiq, sorry. It's actually it was the method, the method of the people of Medina were to do shiqs, which was, the other option. Um, because the reason being is that their land or their earth was actually softer. So because their land was softer, that's why they would generally do this. But for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they did the laht. And so it's mentioned that if the earth is softer, if it's it can fall, for example. In that case, you can do the shiq, obviously. Although according to us, laht is better, but because if the earth is soft, you will not be able to create that incision or that enclosure. So then you can do a shiq. There's no problem. It's also mentioned that it's okay to do coffins, right? This opens that discussion of coffins, and because in our situation, we don't really have in most situations, we don't have the option to even do laht or shiq. We just, place it on a flat surface, essentially, right? If or otherwise we do the shiq, right? Which is the incision, right? Or meaning the smaller within the grave, right? That's just because of the regulations and so on, they don't really have, or generally, in most of the places that I've gone to, they don't really have the option to do the lah, right? So both are technically fine. Also, coffins are fine as well. Meaning, especially nowadays, most places they have the requirement to maintain the coffin and to keep the coffin, and so that's also okay. It's okay to have the coffins as well. Right? And ideally, it'd be better to put the dirt inside the coffin, but if that's not possible, as in most cases, then it's okay to do it as whatever the policy, whatever the rule is, it's okay to do it like that. There's nothing wrong with it. Questions? Okay.
Minimum depth requirement.
So they say that um 1 second, it's mentioned here somewhere. Um they said no minimum requirement, but just it should be up till the chest of the male. So it doesn't have to be 6 feet and others how generally it's known, but just so that the chest is also buried. So essentially very, very less. That's the bare minimum. When you're asking minimum, that's the minimum. At least the chest should be covered. Like chest, like if a person lays flat, that amount of space essentially. Right? That's the bare minimum. Okay, but generally we do 6 feet or whatever.
I heard Jannatul Baqi point.
Jannatul Baqi, I'm not sure to be honest. Probably Sheikh. Probably Sheikh. As they said that generally the land of Medina is softer, so it's likely that's the way that they follow. And so generally that's what they used to follow as well. But for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they did lah.
Because Somalians are Shafi'i 100%. You do the left.
Subhanallah. So by the way, like this is a Hanafi textbook, right? So sometimes it's possible that they don't have the mu'tamad view of the Shafi'i madhab. It's possible, right? But I'm just reading what's in the book.
As the coffin can be open at the grave.
Yeah.
We put the dirt always.
Yeah. So generally, as I said, if you're able to put dirt inside the coffin, then you should do that also. But if not, then you know.
The word lahad we use only for the grave, or how will you describe the word lahad?
In English, I don't think there's a word for it.
Well, in Arabic, how you explain where we use the word lahad?
Laht, there's no other word for it. It's laht, meaning it's, you know. Generally, when you say laht, people understand that is what's meant by laht. Lam, lam, ha, dal. Lahd. Yeah, lahd.
Like the stones we put on the top, on that small one, the stones, those called lahad.
Yeah, well, I'm getting to that. I'm gonna talk about that after that also, inshallah. So we're just talking about then we're talking about the wall, essentially, the barrier, right? We'll talk about it. Right? So, but we're just talking about making the grave in that manner, right? So ideally, laht, according to us, is better, but whatever is possible, that's okay. Any other questions? Okay. So then he says, وَيُدْخَلُ الْمَيِّتُ مِمَّا يَلِ الْقِبْلَةِ. And so then you should enter the mayyit from the direction of qibla. So whichever direction the qibla is, bring the person in through that direction, right? Ideally. So for example, even if it's a shaykh, for example, you bring in from the qibla direction and place him in that direction. فإذا وضع في لحده قال الذي يضعه بسم الله وعلى ملة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So then the person who's placing inside the lahd, he should say Bismillah in the name of Allah Ta'ala and following the millah, following the religion of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay. So, 1 second. Placing inside the lahd, he should say Bismillah in the name. Okay. So, he says that you say Bismillah wa ala millati Rasulillah. Okay. It's mentioned regarding Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu that he would say ala millati Rasulillah, meaning ala shari'ati. And it's also, there's no problem if there are multiple people inside and bringing the person into the grave because you don't want to drop the person at the same time. So whether two, three, four, five, there's no number that have to be inside the grave or outside of the grave. There's no specific number, right? When Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was being entered into the grave, Ali, Abbas, and Fadl ibn Abbas, and Suhaib, all of these four were inside the grave when they were taking Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So, the immediate and close family of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So, okay, that's regarding the grave. Questions? Okay. وَيُوَجِّهُ إِلَى الْقِبْلَةِ وَيَحِلُّ الْعُقْدَةِ. So then after putting the person into the grave, you should ideally push the body towards the Qibla, right? Softly, put something under it. So generally what they do is they put, so in our scenarios, so ideally you should put some, I mean, the entire body should be facing towards the Qibla. But if that's not possible, at least move the face towards the Qibla, okay? Generally, that's what people do. They put something here, for example, sometimes they put a little, some rocks, or not rocks, but like some dirt or something. They put on one side so that the face remains towards the Qibla. But ideally, the body should be faced towards the Qibla, ideally, okay? And at the same time, um, yeah, so at the same time, it should not, meaning, at the same time, you untie the knot, which is ideal. Again, we're talking about ideal, yes? So ideally, you open the knots, because the knots is supposed to prevent the person from, the clothes from coming off. And so once he's in the grave, then there's no need for the knots, and so you remove the knots. Okay. It's mentioned that when a person passed, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Ali radiallahu anhu, he said, Ya Ali, istaqbil bihi al-qibla istiqbalan. That, oh Ali, face this person towards the qibla, وَقُولُوا جَمِيعًا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ وَعَلَى مِلَّةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Right? And all of you should say, Bismillah wa ala millati Rasulillah, and وَضَعُوهُ لِجَنْبِ. Put him on his side, وَلَا تَكُبُّوهُ لِوَجْهِ. Don't put him on his face, وَلَا تُلْقُوهُ لِظَهْرِ. And don't also leave him on his back. So don't leave him on his back, or don't put him on his face, but put him on his side towards the qibla. That's the ideal. Okay. After that, وَيُسَوِّي اللَّبِنَ عَلَى اللَّحْمِ. And then you should put some unbaked bricks on top of the laht, meaning like covering that niche, that area, the laht area, right? وَيُكْرَهُ الْآجُرُ وَالْخُشُبُ, or khashub. It's makruh to put baked bricks or wood. Right? It's makruh to put them. The scholars, they say that it's because those are meant for building and for usage for other things. And so ideally you should not use baked bricks and for something that's going to be decaying anyways, right? Meaning those things will be decaying. So there's no need to use those, right? There are some opinions that say that, oh, you should not use baked bricks because they're made from fire, right? So our scholars, we say that has nothing to do with it. Fire has nothing to do with it. Because, for example, if you consider that as a factor, then everything has something to do with fire. If you say the baked bricks we don't use because of fire, then it opens another can of worms, essentially. Everything. Okay, are you going to be looking at the process of how everything was made? No, it's very difficult. So we just say that baked bricks are generally used for building homes and so on, and whereas unbaked bricks, it's okay. The entire place will be decaying and dissolving anyways. So therefore, it's okay to use unbaked bricks. You should ideally not use baked bricks. Again, in our situation, it's unlikely. ولا بأس بالقصب. There's no problem in using straws and like other things also. Sometimes people, they use that as well. Right? ثم يهال التراب عليه. Then you'll place the dirt in the grave. Right? And it's mentioned that for the people who are, witnessing the grave, the burial and so on, they should take 3 handfuls of dirt and they should place inside. And they should be ideally from the head side, ideally from the side of the head. Some people, they do it from, again, it's not that big of a deal, but ideally the better is to do from the head side. And each time, when you take 1 handful, you say, "Minha khalaqnakum," meaning from this dirt we were created. وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ, and in this dirt will be sent back into. وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى, and from this dirt we will be resurrected. So when you take the first handful, minha khalaqnakum, and you put it inside. وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. Third time. Ideally, if someone knows it, if someone doesn't know it, then that's it. They don't know say Bismillah or something, and that's fine. There's some narrations. Again, this is not hadith or anything. Some narrations. Again, by the way, this is like, for example, the practices of the pious, right? So don't think of it as hadith or nas or anything like that. But some scholars or some pious people, in their experience, they've found that the one who takes the dirt of the grave in his hand, he recites Surah Al-Qadr 7 times, right? And then puts that dirt into the grave, that person will not be punished. Again, this is based on the experience of the pious. Wallahu alam, right? There's nothing wrong with practicing on it. There's no, so long as you don't think it's sunnah. If you think it's sunnah, then it becomes bid'ah, right? But if you're just doing it because of the experience of the pious, it's fine. Okay. So recite Surah Al-Qadr 7 times and um and then put it inside the grave. وَيُسَنَّمُ الْقَبْرُ وَلَا يُسَطَّحُ. He says that you should ideally make a small hump, like make the hump up the grave a bit raised, right? And don't just make it flat. Because if you make it flat, I mean, number one, many people will not know about it. Right? People won't realize that this is a grave, right? And if you put the hump, people will generally understand. Especially at that time, they didn't really have like these headstones and other things, um, and so therefore it's better to do make the small hump. Speaking of headstones, right? Just to discuss that masala, this is kind of done now. We have like one more line left, but that's about something else. So he says that regarding headstones, it is permissible, but for identification purposes. For example, I'll tell you, right? Like, for example, when I go back home to my country, Bangladesh, in many graves, they don't have headstones, they don't have anything, right? And I'm sure it's the same thing. So, for example, they'll say, okay, somewhere in this area is my relative, right? So it's tough. You don't know who's where, who's who, you know? So it's okay to have a small little headstone or something not so expensive. Some people they spend so much money on these headstones and they put all of these other things. I think it's good to have a headstone, but it should be simple. Keep it simple. Don't spend so much money on it. At least for identification purposes, it's okay. That the name should be there when they passed away. Right? You don't have to add other things, but at least a minimum of that. Why? Because because that way when people pass by, I do this all the time. I'll say this, right? I do this all the time. When I go to a graveyard, and I've said this before as well. When you go to a graveyard, go walk through the graveyard. Walk through the graveyard. Because in our area, we don't really go to the graveyard so frequently, right? So when you do go, walk through the graveyard and recite Quran, right? And I've mentioned in the beginning also that um, when the person is passing away, you should recite Yasin. But my humble mashwara is recite Yasin also when you're in the graveyard. I said last week or the week before that many people, when they're there, they're waiting for the entire process. They're just talking. They're just wasting time. They're talking about other things and things that don't benefit. Rather, do things that will benefit the mayyit. Recite Quran, not only for this mayyit, and according to us, we say that you can make intention for all of the Muslims of that graveyard, right? That make recite Quran, and as I said before as well, that according to our view, that the people of the grave, according to us and our scholars, we say that the people of the grave they can hear what's happening. According to our scholars, there's a difference of opinion, but our scholars will say that they can hear. So therefore, go around reciting Quran for them. And you never know. You never know. Allah alam, when was the last time this person heard Quran? You know, in our countries back home, you have graveyards everywhere. You have graveyards like next to every masjid. Generally, there's a graveyard, and so um, generally it's more easier to to visit the graveyards and so on. And the scholars and comes in the hadith as well that you should visit the graveyards, right? This will soften the heart. Right? This is softens the heart. But we should, especially if we have relatives, wherever. Obviously, we have relatives who have passed away. You should go and visit them. Parents, siblings, friends. You should go and visit them whenever you do get a chance. Go and visit their graves. For example, when you do visit back home, make it a point to go and visit the grave. Make it a point to go visit your parents, your siblings, and whoever passed away, relatives. Go and visit them, make dua at their graves, and then make it a point. Make it a point to visit them. Um, a couple of other things. See, the grave, I mean, this is a reality for every single one of us, right? All of us, that's our destination eventually, right? So we need to prepare for that life. Couple of things also. For example, just today, one of the brothers was telling me, I said this before, I'll repeat it again. Um, just today, one brother was telling me that another person was shipped back to Afghanistan, for example, right? So they do this, we do this all, our communities, they do it all the time. Whether Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Afghanistan, or other Arab countries also, people, they do this all the time. And I've said before as well that they do a lot of things to change the body, to exhume the body and take out organs and things because they decay, right? So they change the body, they cut the person up, they remove the blood, so many things they do. So Sharia says you should not move a person like that, right? It's recommended that number one, right? As I've said before, that as soon as the person passes away, get in the process of washing and burial. Don't delay. This is one of the things that should not be delayed. So sometimes, as I said, sometimes people delay for days. People delay. Oh, acha, Fulan is coming from so and so place. This person is coming from that place. Don't delay. This person is in limbo, right? So don't delay in the washing and the burial. Number one. Right. Number two, even worse than that is sending that person somewhere else, right? With all due respect, there's no difference between whether a person is buried here or there. There. Right? If a person is righteous, they'll be in a Jannah here, inshallah. If they were not righteous, then they may be in a something else there, right? So it doesn't matter. Right? Just bury them wherever they passed away or nearby, um, not too far away, but nearby. I know generally people do this. Why? Oh, I want my family to visit me, right? Generally, they do it for that reason.
The parents.
For the parents and so on, right? Next to my parents, for example, and so on. But I mean, taqdeer of Allah Ta'ala, inshallah, you'll see each other in Jannah, inshallah. So there's no need to be next to them in the grave, you know? You can be buried anywhere. And inshallah, you will be reunited with them in Jannah, inshallah. So that's something very important. Right? The second thing also is, along with that, it's very important that as Muslims we invest in graveyards. Invest into it. Like I feel bad that we do not have a graveyard near our masjid. It sucks, right? And I've said this before as well, right? Ideally, avoid mixed graveyards. I've said this before. It's my personal recommendation. I don't like a Muslim being buried near a non-Muslim. I just don't like it because the adhab of Allah Ta'ala is taking place there. And inshallah, the mercy of Allah Ta'ala is taking place here, inshallah. I just personally, I just don't like it. Is there a Shari'i reason? No, no. It's okay. Technically, you can, bury someone anywhere. But personally, I just don't like it. So ideally, Muslims, we should be focused on that. We need to build graveyards for ourselves as well. That's our eternal, I mean, quote unquote, right? I mean, that's where your body will be there for much longer. And it's important to, when you go to the graves, you'll see. I mean, maybe not in America, but if you go in other countries, you see like this person passed away 1800, 1700, you know, hundreds of years ago, they've been inside the grave. And it's important to remember that they were inside the grave longer than they were outside of the grave. This is the reality of life. So we need to prepare for that. We need to prepare for that, inshallah. Right? The life of the akhab. There's one line. Let's finish that, inshallah, and then I'll tell you one project that I'm thinking of doing. It says, well, وَمَنْ إِسْتَهَلَّ بَعْدَ الْوَلَادَةِ. So now we're going to talk about a stillborn, or a fetus who dies. We'll talk about this now. وَمَنْ إِسْتَهَلَّ بَعْدَ الْوَلَادَةِ سُمِّيَ وَغُسِّلَ وَصُلِّ عَلَيْهِ. So the first scenario is if there's signs of life. If a child is born and there's signs of life, right? Whether he screams, especially in the book that he screams, or he or she, the baby screams, or even if the baby does not scream, but it moves, for example, or something shows some form of life, in that case, name the child, wash the child, and pray on that child. That's number one. وَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَهِلْ أُدْرِجَ فِي خِرْقَةٍ وَدُفِنَ وَلَمْ يُصَلَّ عَلَيْهِ. And if the child comes out stillborn, meaning and does not show any signs of life, then they say that you'll just place the fetus into a cloth and you'll bury the fetus, and you don't need to pray over that baby or over that stillborn. Now, some scholars, right? This is one opinion. Other scholars, they say that, listen, even if there's a fetus or a stillborn um, who was not fully formed, right? Even in that case, some scholars, they say that you should wash right? So again, I mentioned one opinion, which is the book. The opinion of the book is that if the child is born and does not show any form of life, then you do not wash and you don't pray. But the Hanafi madhab, the more correct view in the Hanafi madhab is that you should wash the body, the baby, the fetus, even if the fetus does not show any signs of life. So you don't need to. Again, you don't. We're not talking about. It's not. There's no need for it. But the scholars they say do this because this helps. This helps the family move on. You know. So you should wash the body. You should, if you want to, you can pray on the body, and but you don't need to pray on the fetus. But you should name the fetus. So you should name the fetus. And this is of course very emotional and very it's a difficult conversation, but it is something that should be had as well. That for the fetus also, and I know many people there are struggling to have babies, and those whose children have passed away. May Allah Taala make everything easy for the family, and may Allah Taala grant them righteous children. I mean, but the fact is that this happens also. So for fetus and for stillborn and for a baby that was born that showed signs of life, according to our scholars, we say that yes, you should wash and name for both, and if possible, pray for both as well, if possible. But if you don't, it's not that big of a deal. If it's a stillborn, meaning no signs of life, then there's no. It's not a big deal if you don't pray because it was never a fully born baby, right? And they've never shown sign of life. But at the end of the day, if you pray just to have that tasalli, have that contentment or that that peace in the heart, it's okay. It's not a big deal, inshallah. Any questions? According to our madhab, also Hanafi madhab, we say that there's no one of the conditions I mentioned is that the mayyit should be in front, meaning should be there, right? So, for example, the Shafis and others, they say that you can pray Salatul Janazah al ghaib. We say that, um, there's no we say no, not really. Hanafis, they say that there's no real concept of only in one time. Nabi Sallallahu did it once, and that was the only time in his entire life that he did it. Right? But in my opinion, wallah, I mean, why not? I'm I'm flexible in this opinion because I mean there is Nabi Sallallahu did do it. He did it once at least, right? And so it's an emotional time. I don't see a big. Don't make it a big deal. My point being, don't make it a big deal. If people want to pray Salatul Janazah al ghaib, let them. It's not a big deal. The Shafi'is and other madhahib, they allow it. So let them do it. So even if you're Hanafi, even if you follow the Hanafi madhab, wallah, there's no harm in it. You're not doing kufr or shirk. You're just following a different madhab. So, in my opinion, it's okay. Allah. Um, that being said, as I was saying, I'll take 2 minutes. As I was saying that it's important that we prepare for the next life and do things, have investments for the akhirah. And the best investments are those investments that are sadqa jariyah, that are continuous. So whichever way that may be. As I said before, you know which way is sadqa jariyah for you. Right? And that being said, I'm working on this one project, right? To make dua, Allah Ta'ala makes it successful. I've mentioned it before, but now I'm in the process of it, which is, um, inshallah, to distribute Qur'ans to madaris, especially madaris of tahfidh, inshallah. So my plan is, I've spoken to one brother, mashallah. He's customizing Qur'ans, inshallah. So we'll have our own custom. I'm in the process of finding out. Today I spoke to him also, um, finding out how much. I think he was saying like $10 per Quran or something. It's nothing, you know what I mean? It's not like it's such a significant small amount. But such insignificant small amount of money. Um, so like $10 or something like that, 10, 15, whatever it is, $20, whatever it is. But the idea, inshallah, is we'll be like maybe we'll have like our logo on the bottom, maybe inshallah, and maybe I asked him how much can we personalize, like how much can we add, and so like for example, if you look at the Qur'ans that are sent out from Saudi, they have like for example here it's written that gift from Mamlakat Arabiya Saudi and or make dua for king some so and so and so on and so forth, right? I think it's a good idea. Some people may disagree. I like it. I think it's a good idea. Put that person's name there. That way, someone reads it. Every time they see that name, may Allah have mercy on them. Why not? There's nothing wrong with it, right? You're not doing it to show off. I don't think it's intention is in your own heart, right? And I think it's good to have the person's name. That way, when someone sees it, Write a short dua that, Sa'ad, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, or may Allah help him, or something small, I think it's good. And inshallah, I will be doing this in the near future, inshallah. Anyone who wants to support it, let me know, inshallah. But this is a good project, inshallah. I don't know how to make it like a big thing, but I will start as small, inshallah. We'll figure out how to make it, inshallah. But inshallah, when I do have things more finalized, I will let you know, inshallah. And those who want to help, inshallah, you can help. I plan on, inshallah, doing this, of course, without any profit, anything, inshallah. Of course, as I said, we'll give it whatever money comes in, we'll use it for the mushafs and then gift it to students of tahfiz and students of who are reading Quran and memorizing Quran. $10. You spend $10 now, inshallah, for years. Right? Where's my Quran? My Quran is over there, but at my house. But as I said before, my father gifted me one Quran when he went for Hajj or Umrah, maybe like 10, 15 years. No, I know exactly which year, 2009. What's now 2024, right? 15 years ago. 15 years ago, he gifted me one Quran. Came back from Hajj or something, or Umrah, and and he brought me a Quran. He gifted it to me. I was finishing my tahfidh at that time. I was finishing my memorization. I used that Quran from that time till today. Till today, I'm still using that same one Quran. It's a simple, just like one of these, just like this, just like a simple Quran, just like this, right? But the one that I'm getting made, it's big, it's nice, good quality, and it'll be very, very, very nice, inshallah. And I know people will support this project. I know you'll support it, inshallah. But it's something I'm passionate about, and I will open up for you all as well, inshallah. If you all want to help as well, inshallah, you can do it as well. But inshallah, something to look forward to, inshallah. But this is not the only sadaqah jariyah. And diversify. Whichever sadaqah jariyah you can do, whatever it is, do it. Because the grave is all of our destination. May Allah Ta'ala allow us to live in this world in the obedience of Allah Ta'ala. And may Allah Ta'ala take our lives when He is happy with us. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillah.
Share one idea. We